At 2 in the morning, in a cramped New York studio, a former Miles Davis percussionist named James Mtume writes a song for his singer, line by line, as she sings it back to him in real time. Never once expecting that record would end up sampled into a #1 hip-hop hit more than a decade later, and still filling dance floors long after Mtume himself was gone. Tonight we're digging into the deep cuts of the funk and boogie underground. 12 breakthrough records built in basements, bathrooms, attics, and record label backlots by artists who rarely got the credit they actually deserved. Until now. Number 12, Cheryl Lynn broke through in 1978 with Got to Be Real, a song that almost never existed, because Cheryl Lynn almost never got anywhere near a stage in the first place. Her boyfriend at the time, Delbert Langston, issued her a flat-out ultimatum. Either she proved she could really sing by auditioning for the campy television talent show The Gong Show, or he was done dating her entirely, so this shy speech pathology major swallowed her nerves and sang Joe Cocker's "You Are So Beautiful" in front of a national audience. Her performance stopped the show cold, and within days she had missed calls waiting from Atlantic Records executive Ahmet Ertegun, eventually landing with Columbia Records instead, where she was paired with a young, unknown musician named David Paich, whose own new band, a little group called Toto, hadn't even released its debut album yet. Got to Be Real hit number 12 on the pop charts and rocketed to #1 on the R&B chart, and the shy girl who needed a boyfriend's dare just to walk on a stage ended up recording one of the most sampled dance anthems in American music history. Number 11, Midnight Star broke through in 1983 with Freakazoid, and their story starts nowhere near a major record label. It starts on the campus of Kentucky State University in 1976, where a trumpet player named Reggie Calloway and a group of fellow students decided to build their own self-contained funk band from scratch. For years, the group played and produced everything themselves, writing, arranging, and even engineering their own records long before major labels took them seriously. And the word Freakazoid itself came from something Reggie simply picked up hanging around his college fraternity brothers. When Freakazoid finally landed in 1983 off their album No Parking on the Dance Floor, it became the only platinum album released that year by a self-contained black band, climbing to #2 on the R&B chart and putting Midnight Star's vocoder-heavy, futuristic funk sound on the map nationwide. A group of Kentucky college kids who taught themselves to write, produce, and engineer their own music ended up defining an entire strand of 80s electro-funk, all because nobody outside their dorm rooms believed in them enough to do it for them. Number 10. Zapp broke through in 1980 with More Bounce to the Ounce, a record built almost entirely around one strange piece of gear, the talkbox, an effects unit that let frontman Roger Troutman make his guitar and his voice sing together in perfect unison. The Troutman brothers, Roger, Larry, Lester, and Terry, were unknowns out of Dayton, Ohio, until two members of Parliament Funkadelic, Bootsy Collins and his brother Catfish, caught one of their live shows and were blown away enough to personally invite Roger into the P-Funk Inner Circle at United Sound Studios in Detroit. George Clinton himself reportedly wandered into the session one night, loved what he heard, and coached the band on how to loop and layer the talkbox parts into what became the record's signature hook, a production trick Bootsy Collins later called genuinely ahead of its time. More Bounce to the Ounce hit number 2 on the R&B chart, went gold within months, and became one of the most sampled funk records in hip-hop history, laying the exact groundwork that artists from Dr. Dre to Snoop Dogg would build entire hits on top of decades later. Number 9. The Dazz Band broke through in 1982 with Let It Whip, but the group had already spent years grinding under a different name entirely, Kinsman Dazz, playing the house band gig at a small Cleveland club called the Kinsman Grill, just to stay working. After signing with Motown and shortening their name, it was producers Reggie Andrews and Ndugu Chancellor who built the outrageously funky, drum machine-driven groove for Let It Whip, with all 8 members of the band layering their own live instruments directly on top of that new technology. Let It Whip shot to number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart for 5 straight weeks and cracked the pop top 5. And at the 1982 Grammy Awards, this group of Cleveland club musicians, who used to play behind Lou Rawls at Leo's Casino, stood on stage sharing the Best R&B Vocal Performance Award with none other than Earth, Wind & Fire. A band that started as background music at a neighborhood grill ended up standing shoulder to shoulder with music royalty, all because they refused to stop playing long enough to be forgotten. Number 8. The Gap Band broke through nationally in 1982 with You Dropped a Bomb on Me, but the story of their name goes back decades earlier, to 3 brothers named Charlie, Ronnie, and Robert Wilson, who grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and named their band after the streets Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. Those 3 streets ran straight through the heart of Tulsa's Greenwood district, once known as Black Wall Street, one of the wealthiest black communities in America before it was violently destroyed in the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, a history the Wilson brothers carried with them into every arena they ever played. For years, fans speculated that the song's exploding synthesizer hook and lyrics about being blindsided were a coded tribute to that tragedy, a rumor Charlie Wilson himself finally addressed decades later in 2021, confirming it wasn't intentional, even while saying he appreciated that it brought renewed attention to what happened in Greenwood. You Dropped a Bomb on Me became the Gap Band's signature hit and one of the most recognizable synth-funk records of the entire 80s, a song that carries the name of a destroyed community forward every single time it plays on a dance floor. Number 7. Evelyn Champagne. King broke through in 1977 with Shame, and her origin story reads like a genuine fairy tale, because Evelyn wasn't even trying to be a singer. She was a teenager helping her mother clean the bathrooms at Philadelphia International Records, just to earn a little extra money. While vacuuming one day, she quietly sang Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come to herself, unaware that in-house producer Theodore T. Life was walking past the restroom and stopped dead in his tracks when he heard her voice coming from inside. Life tracked down her mother to find out who had been singing, promised the teenager he was going to make her a star, and made good on that promise almost immediately, landing her a deal with RCA Records and producing her debut single before she'd even turned 18. Shame climbed to number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 and earned Evelyn a gold record before she was legally old enough to drink. And to this day, she still calls the moment she heard herself on the radio for the first time a real-life Cinderella story, because that's exactly what it was. We're halfway through tonight's deep dive, and if these stories are new to you, that's exactly why this channel exists. We go past the liner notes to find the real history behind the music you grew up on. So if you want more of this, hit subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss a countdown. Now let's get back into it, because the stories only get more incredible from here. Number 6. Tom Browne broke through in 1980 with Funkin' for Jamaica NY, a record that most people outside New York assumed was a tribute to the Caribbean island, when it was actually a love letter to Browne's own home neighborhood, Jamaica, Queens. Browne came up in a tight-knit scene of young musicians there who called themselves the Jamaica Cats, mentored by jazz legends Weldon Irvine and Lenny White, and the song itself almost didn't happen at all, thrown together as a last-minute studio filler track after his label said his new album needed one more song. Browne scribbled the bass line and grooved down at his parents' house, brought it into the studio the next morning with his young Jamaica Cats collaborators, and by the time it was mixed, the vocal delivery on the record was so smooth that even Chaka Khan herself reportedly assumed it was her own voice on the radio. Funkin' for Jamaica shot to number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart for a full month and crossed into the UK top 10, proving that sometimes the biggest hit on the album is the one nobody was even planning to make. Number 5. Bernard Wright broke through in 1985 with Who Do You Love? But by the time that song hit the charts, Wright was already a legend inside his own Queens neighborhood, having played keyboards as a literal teenager on Tom Browne's number 1 smash Funkin' for Jamaica years earlier. Wright was such a prodigy that when drummer Lenny White wanted to bring him on tour as part of his band, White had to personally go speak with Wright's grandmother and earn her trust, just to get permission for a teenager to go out on the road. That same circle of mentors, Weldon Irvine, Lenny White, and the tight musical family out of Jamaica, Queens, eventually helped guide Wright toward his own solo spotlight, and Who Do You Love climbed all the way to number 6 on the R&B chart off his 1985 album Mr. Right. A kid who needed his grandmother's blessing just to leave town on tour grew up to become one of the most quietly influential musicians of his generation, later mentoring entire new generations of jazz and funk players himself before his passing in 2022. Number 4. Mtume broke through in 1983 with Juicy Fruit, written and led by James Mtume, a man who spent the first half of his career as a jazz percussionist playing alongside Miles Davis on groundbreaking albums like On the Corner, before he ever thought about writing an R&B hit. The song itself was born out of pure improvisation. Mtume began writing it late one night while his lead singer Tawatha Agee was still out on tour, and when he couldn't wait any longer, he called her back to the studio, and the two of them finished the entire song together at 2 in the morning, with Mtume writing each new verse just moments before Agee sang it into the microphone. Do what you want, I don't care. Juicy Fruit shot straight to number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart, where it stayed for 8 full weeks, and even though it barely cracked the pop top 50, its sparse, sputtering electronic groove ended up living an entirely second life over a decade later, when it became the sample underneath the notorious B.I.G.'s breakout hit, Juicy. A former Miles Davis sideman who wrote lyrics on the spot at 2 in the morning ended up creating one of the most sampled beats in hip-hop history without ever setting out to do it. Number 3. Cameo broke through into the pop mainstream in 1986 with Word Up, fronted by Larry Blackmon, a Juilliard-trained drummer who had already been grinding through the New York funk scene since the mid-1970s, before the world ever noticed him. Blackmon built the song's growling, half-sung vocal delivery as a direct homage to his hero Sly Stone, and paired it with a piercing synthesizer riff that borrowed its menace from Ennio Morricone's spaghetti western scores, all wrapped around Blackmon's now legendary visual gimmick, a bright red codpiece that record executives initially weren't sure the world was ready for. The label itself was reportedly hesitant to release the song at all, until a visiting executive from Cameo's UK division bluntly told the American team that not releasing Word Up would be a mistake nobody would forgive. Word Up shot to #1 on the R&B chart, crossed all the way to #6 on the pop chart, and turned Larry Blackmon's red codpiece into one of the most instantly recognizable images of the entire decade. Proof that sometimes the boldest wardrobe choice in the room is also the smartest business decision. She's a very kinky girl. Number 2. Rick James broke through nationally in 1981 with Super Freak, a song James reportedly almost didn't even release, since he thought the track sounded too cheesy to put his name on, until a Los Angeles radio programmer warned him privately that its lyrics were too risky for the airwaves in the first place. Put your hands together. James brought in his own Motown label mates, the Temptations, to sing backup on the track, and it wasn't just a professional favor. Temptations bass singer Melvin Franklin was actually Rick James's real-life uncle, family harmony sitting underneath one of the filthiest funk records ever pressed to wax. When Super Freak exploded across radio in the summer of 1981, MTV initially refused to air the accompanying music video at all, part of a well-documented pattern of the network avoiding black artists during its earliest years on the air, a barrier other artists would have to fight through right behind him. Super Freak sold over 1 million copies as a standalone single, and nearly a decade later, its bass line would be sampled wholesale into MC Hammer's massive hit, You Can't Touch This, giving Rick James's uncle's harmony a second life on radio that nobody in that 1981 studio could have predicted. Close the door. Let me give. Number 1. Teddy Pendergrass broke through as a solo sex symbol in 1978 with Close the Door, a slow-burning ballad that turned him almost overnight into the kind of star women rushed the stage for, disguised themselves as hotel maids just to get near, and threw their own lingerie at during live performances. I've waited all day long. His manager, Shep Gordon, noticed his audiences were overwhelmingly women and built an entirely new kind of touring format around it, the now legendary ladies-only concerts, where fans were handed chocolate teddy bear-shaped lollipops on the way through the door before Pendergrass ever stepped on stage. Close the Door hit #1 on the R&B chart and cemented Pendergrass as the top male sex symbol in the genre, 5 consecutive platinum albums deep by the early 80s, selling out arenas at a level few R&B artists before him had ever reached. Then in March of 1982, on that same Philadelphia road we opened with tonight, a car accident left Pendergrass paralyzed from the chest down at only 31 years old, turning the man who once commanded entire arenas of adoring women into something even more powerful, a symbol of resilience who spent the rest of his life proving that a broken body never touched his voice. 12 records, 12 artists who built entire moments in music out of basements, bathrooms, and last-minute studio sessions nobody expected to matter, and somehow every single one of them ended up changing the sound of a decade. If one of these stories hit you harder than the rest, drop the artist's name in the comments. And if you want more of this kind of deep, real R&B and funk history, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss what's coming next.